Welcome to the third episode of Old Games Old, Chiptooth Gaming's bi-weekly gaming retrospective podcast. You can get the show on youtube.com/chiptoothgaming and the podcast services of your choice, including Spotify. My name is Noah Friskop, and across from me, the San Francisco treat, Eli Shaw. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm a little tired, but I'm ready to talk Star Wars as always.
Yes, always ready to talk Star Wars. I'm also a little groggy, so excuse... I mean, honestly, I always flub a lot, so it can't be worse than usual. So let's just dive right into it. Star Wars Empire at War is a 2006 real-time strategy game developed by Petroglyph Games that currently sits at a respectable 79 on Metacritic. The game lets you take command of either the Rebellion or Galactic Empire in both space and land combat, as well as micromanage intergalactic supplies, troops, and fleets. So I feel like this game is kind of under the radar, even on like all of the YouTube. Like there's so many videos like, top 10 best Star Wars games, and it very rarely ever makes the cut for some reason. Why do you think this game just kind of has flown under the radar for so long?
I think people might have just forgotten about it. Like a Star Wars RTS, like from 2006, when like who was really playing PC games back then, you know?
Yeah, that was kind of in that lull, that weird time period. But it's such a good game, though. That's the thing. It's like I wasn't a strategy game fan before this game. Like this is really what opened the door to the whole genre for me, and that's when I kind of found out that setting is really important for strategy games, in my opinion. Like now my go-to strategy game is probably Dawn of War, but that's only because Empire at War kind of opened my eyes to this whole genre, and just what a natural fit Star Wars is for this type of game.
It's so perfect, and like the fact that they pull from the books and like the EU and everything, like it really fleshes out this game. Like, with the movies, you have only so many ships, you only have so many like characters, blah blah blah. But like the more they pull from the EU, the more it's like, okay, this is a world, like these are the characters, these are the stakes. Like there's massive battles going on throughout Star Wars that you're just not seeing.
Yeah, exactly. So it takes place a few years before New Hope, I believe, is like the official timeline. But then the expansion takes place, I think, after, not after Jedi, but after Alderaan for sure. And that, adds in a little bit more EU stuff. Yeah, if they didn't use the EU stuff, it would almost feel like the first Star Wars Battlefront by EA, where it's just like the Empire is just grossly overpowered compared to the Rebellion, where it's like they don't really have any kind of land vehicles or anything, but they pull from all kinds of sources in the EU, which I really appreciate. And something that has kind of kept this game alive, I've noticed, is the modding community is still pretty active. Like there's mods for Knights of the Republic, there's mods for the Clone Wars, there's a couple of mods for the Clone Wars. Republic at War is probably the one I've spent the most time with. Thrawn, at Grand Admiral Thrawn, post Jedi stuff. So like this game has a dedicated following to it, and with the current state of Star Wars games, it's probably one of your best bets even today if you want that fix.
Yeah, sadly, like, I mean, we all know the EA deal, and like they're not really doing anything of notice so far.
No, it's incredible how little that they've done in this long.
Could you imagine a new entry of Empire at War, or at least like just a new Star Wars RTS with like kind of like Battlefront 2, where it's spanning all three?
That would be incredible, eras. But it would be minimal content and microtransactions up the ass, and you want a ship, here's a fucking loot box or something. But yeah, no, if you do want an experience like that where you can play and command these battles in any era, just download this game. It has Steam Workshop support now, so makes it really, really easy to just go in and start playing. So let's just kind of like dive into like the nitty gritty of it. Like, what's the general setup? Just going in, like, what's your first few turns? Like, what's going on?
Okay, so your first few turns, I'm not like an RTS guy. I'm gonna like just botch a lot of turns.
Oh yeah, sure. Absolutely, myself as well.
Forgive me for this, but like, so at the beginning, you really want to just kind of spam like just your normal stormtroopers or rebel troopers and send them out and like try to take over whatever little buildings are around you. You get your like, I think you can unlock more like barracks, more like power relays, all stuff like that, to increase your input of like your income, basically, of a bunch of different resources, and be able to like spawn your people in multiple places rather than your home base. So basically, you want to just like expand, and then once you make first contact, you want to just like go at it. Like, all right, it's done. Like, the time for expansion's over. It's time to start dropping down the tanks. You know, maybe call in a hero or two. Like, whatever you got. Like, at least for me, like that's how I play.
Yeah, my strategy was have a completely overwhelming force, which is why I felt like I did. You generally do the Empire or the Rebels?
I want to say I did the Rebels more often.
Okay, because I was pretty much entirely an Empire player, and I feel like just having the massive fleet was pretty in line with that kind of play style. Just having winning by overwhelming odds. Like I might lose a few planets at first, but then I come back with just an onslaught and just annihilate from space. And then the space battles are definitely probably the highlight. I don't really enjoy them as much as the ground battles, but I'm glad they're there. You get both fronts, and you get to see like the ATSTs and all the EU rebellion vehicles, all those land tanks and stuff that I wish we saw more of in these new films. There's just trying to double back to like an idea of a new game. I watched a video of someone who was playing Battlefront basically like moved the camera up to a RTS perspective, and just seeing it in that perspective with these new models, I'm just like, there's so much potential here. Like, even though it's a pretty niche genre, like with the way Star Wars is nowadays, if you did all three eras with new graphics and everything, maybe optimized it for controllers more, you have a gold mine on your hands. Yeah. So I would, even if I lost a few planets at first, I would just try to build up as many soldiers and as many ships as possible, at least when I'm playing as the Empire. I spent a lot of time on the Republic at War mod too, and that was a very different experience. Where I played as the Republic, and it kind of, once you take the plot armor off of the Republic, you realize how strong the Confederacy actually is. Because you go up against them in space combat, and they just completely annihilate you, and if you're not prepared. So
yeah, man, these robots, no remorse. You know?
No remorse whatsoever. And they can just pump out troops like crazy. So it kind of like recontextualizes the Clone Wars in a different way. So yeah, seeing these conflicts without, plot armor enabled, basically, it kind of makes you see like just how a war like this would have actually functioned. Having to set up your supply lines and set up your fleets in different areas and make sure, this planet is where you develop like special units. I think for Republic at War, I think it was like Camino, you could develop ARC troopers. So like you have to kind of think tactically in that respect. And it had a lot more hero units. Like you had, a significant amount of Jedi to work with. You had Delta Squad from Republic Commando. And in the regular game, you have like Darth Vader. Is the Emperor in the original game as a unit? Because I know I always kept him on Coruscant.
I think he is.
He was a VIP. I don't know if I ever really endangered him if he was an option.
Yeah, I don't remember. I feel like he was playable, but yeah, I don't.
You had you had Grand Moff Tarkin, right? As one of the hero units. Yeah, so like there was even in the base game, there was a few hero units you can work with, and I'm sure with the Rebels you had like.
Oh, you had plenty of Rebels. You had Han, Chewie. I think you can get Leia, and then you get like your Mon Mothma.
Fucking Admiral Akbar, of course.
Akbar in space, right?
In space, yeah. And that was probably the highlight of my campaign, was defeating Akbar finally, because he has the giant Mon Calamari ship.
No, man, that's who you call in to just clean up.
Yep, you just clean shop. But yeah, like you see the conflict in a different way, in a more like logistical way. So that's something you really don't see at all in the films. You don't see like how their supply lines operate. You don't know what planets are getting their resources from. So you really get into the nitty gritty of it. And that's not something you really see in any other Star Wars game, which is why it's kind of propelled into, at least my favorite Star Wars games list.
Oh yeah, I feel like if we're really getting like down to a Star Wars experience, this game is very much at the top, because like when you really think about it, I guess Rogue One might be the closest movie to like the feeling of this game, where it's
absolutely
super gritty. Like these this war is going on, and like Luke doesn't just come in and blow up the Death Star and then it's over. Like these battles are happening for hours and like, I mean, on the game for hours, I guess. In a
days, months.
setting, like, yeah, who knows how long? I guess he kind of also, not to bring up Solo, but you get that a little bit in the beginning, like
with the Empire, especially.
This is a real war. Yeah,
I absolutely love how Solo handled the Empire because like they weren't really at the forefront, but just the way like their propaganda and like go see the galaxy, and then they're just like glassing the planet from above. Like that's the kind of stuff that I absolutely adored about Solo. But anyway, to go back to pre-Disney Star Wars, there was I'm looking at the land units. Apparently, Prince Xizor from Shadow of the Empire was here, which is cool. Let me see, tons of different ships, tons of planets that we wouldn't hear of in the movies. But yeah, if you were an EU fan, like this was such a gold mine.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is basically how I got most of my knowledge of the EU. Is just like, oh, who's this guy I've never heard of in the movies? So I would Google and be like, oh, he's blah blah blah, this type of leader, this captain, whatever. But it was a good introduction to like a lot of stuff that you don't get in the movies. And I want to say 2006 was, I guess, around the time of the prequels ending. So like,
right after Revenge of the Sith. So they're like, all right, we want some original trilogy content, please.
Yeah, and the fact that this takes place in between 3 and 4 was kind of like, okay, we're bridging a gap. Like there's a lot going on. We know you probably didn't read all these books, so like here's just people, like this is what they do. Feel free to like look them up, I guess. I don't know.
Or it's like you probably didn't if they were like the younger fans, but if you did, this is gonna be awesome for you.
That's true.
Yeah. And let me see. So Venators. So there's even some units from the prequels, it looks like. So yeah, you can unlock a Venator class, I think, as the Rebels. That was basically the Republic Star Destroyer. V-Wings, and the expansion had a few more units too. Like they added TIE Interceptors, but I honestly didn't do the expansion very much. I thought a 3-way battle was a little too much for me. I prefer just kind of the one-on-one. But if there was a way to just play like Empire versus what's the enemy faction? The Corruption.
I actually didn't play the expansion.
Oh, really?
At all when I was like a kid, but then I guess when it was on Steam, they're bundled together, so I bought them both. I think I might have just played like a few quick play missions, but I didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah, it's the Zon Consortium, which I forgot. So yeah, they have like this like whole corruption mechanic, which I thought it was a little too much, but I did appreciate the addition of those few more units, like the TIE Interceptor, which is probably my favorite Star Wars fighter. So I'll always appreciate when the TIE Interceptor shows up.
Oh, that's a S-class ship right there.
Oh, absolutely. It's in the top tier. But there's quite a lot to unpack with this game. And the fact that it's had this long of a lifespan is definitely due to the modding community. Like there's a mod being developed right now that's basically a total graphical overhaul, so just kind of to bring it into the modern era. It's not quite as good looking as like a AAA EA Star Wars game, but when you look at the original game, probably the worst thing about it is that graphically is not held up whatsoever, but it doesn't really stop it from being enjoyable at all. Like you look at the Stormtrooper model and they're just like triangle head, like just barely distinguishable eyes, but yeah, it all works. So
if you're gonna play this game in 2019, I suggest like don't zoom in on the units. Like it's a strategy game, so the default camera is gonna be pretty high up, so you won't really notice the graphics. But like there's an option to like watch each battle happen individually, which is really cool. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, the cinematic camera.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. But I think the graphics kind of make that camera a little pointless, because like do you really want to see triangles just shooting at each other?
Yeah, definitely not in the ground battles, but in the space battles it's awesome, because you just you have you click on your Star Destroyer unit and you click it and you just like watch it fly in all climactic like. And now I'm looking at some of the units from Forces of Corruption. You have like the post Jedi Luke Skywalker, which is pretty sweet, the green lightsaber. So there's a lot to and the Super Star Destroyer. Have you ever unlocked the Super Star Destroyer at all?
If that's from the expansion, probably not.
Probably not. It's it takes up like half the screen. It's just monumental.
Awesome.
Yeah, that and the Death Star, which is probably, I think you have to reach the max tech limit to finally unlock the Death Star, and you can just like indiscriminately blow up planets. It's pretty much like it takes so long that there's still plenty of time for the enemy team to escape, because it has to like, you might fire when ready, type of thing. It charges up, but then you can target either. I think I killed Akbar that way. I think I Death Starred Akbar to death.
Dude, I think I might have used a Death Star and it's like, fuck these guys. Like, I don't want to deal with this fight.
Yeah, just annihilate them.
Yeah.
Big fan.
So, did you play like through the campaigns or anything?
Yes. So, the campaign is basically a glorified tutorial, I feel.
It kind of is.
It kind of is. So, the main bulk of the game is you just put like single player or whatever, and then you pick the map with the most planets, and then you just kind of go, and that kind of gets its own ending at the end once you win. So that almost felt more like a more authentic campaign.
So you're a big like galactic conquest guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I want it to last a long time. I played a few like smaller rounds when I was diving into Republic at War, and it just didn't feel right to me. I wanted the months, maybe even like a couple of years of gameplay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. You just get that feeling of like vast conflict over the course of a long time. You're losing planets, gaining planets, as you know.
No, yeah, I definitely think Star Wars games, just in general, really benefit from like a galactic conquest mode. Because I'm thinking of like the original Battlefront 2's galactic conquest. Like,
so much fun.
It really immerses you within that universe, like because this is happening as like a Star Wars fan, like planets are being taken over, like there's a whole bunch of like gains and losses, and planets are even getting blown up.
Yeah.
So like the fact that you can play like basically a war story in the Star Wars universe it's always so satisfying. And I think the fact that like you have a strategy game that also allows you to do that makes it feel like, okay, this is like the quintessential like Star Wars war, like emphasis on the wars,
Absolutely. And I can't believe I forgot probably my favorite space unit is Boba Fett, because like Slave 1, it just kind of like zips around, and you have like the mine abilities. Like, oh my gosh, I want to go play another campaign now.
Dude, yeah, me too.
I know. I'll probably have to download that the remake mod. But yeah, you got Prince Xizor, you got AT-ATs, speeder bikes, all kinds of those weird EU TIE fighters that make no sense, that I love and hate at the same time. I miss now that
it's weird, man.
Yeah, the EU is weird. I don't know how to feel, because like when it's good, it's like great, but then there was just a lot of weird ass decisions.
Yeah, like no hate for anyone who loves the EU or anything, but like it's pretty weird, let's be honest.
There's a lot of inconsistency there. But some of it is so weird it's awesome, and some of it's just like, no, why is this a thing? But yeah, if you are that fan, or if you're just kind of sick of the Disney model, definitely go check that stuff out. I would love to just like compile a list on Chiptooth Gaming one time of like some like the best EU content. Just kind of like strip it down. So I know,
if you have that knowledge.
I know Mikey's trying to do like a little bit more article stuff, so hit me up, Mikey, if you want that.
So you said you're mainly like an Empire player, right?
Yes, if that's an option in Star Wars games, I'm generally an Empire player. But not because I'm a fascist space Nazi, but just because I love their ships. I love the stormtroopers, all that stuff. I love.
So when you're playing like each battle, did you have like a kind of like a plan going into it? Like I know for me, after figuring out like how to win a ground battle, I would definitely like set up each battle like similarly, and I would be like, okay, I need to attack this building first. Like I know which buildings look like what, and blah blah blah. Like call an airstrike on their barracks. No units being spawned. Then you go in on the power supply. Did you have like a plan that you would stick to?
First things first, if I'm fighting the rebels on the ground, take out the land speeders. Those land speeders will wipe you out. They'll take out your AT-ATs. They will bomb you from air. Those things are the worst. So you have to have some anti-air in and just knock those out before you do anything. And then, try to go for the barracks and just try to call in as many forces as possible. Just insurmountable numbers. But those fucking land speeders, man. I lost so many battles because I wasn't equipped for anti-air.
It's funny, like you would think, oh, Empire, they have the AT-ATs, like what could possibly like go against that besides, I guess, snow speeders or whatever. But they come in and just like destroy all of the AT-ATs, and they can just destroy buildings so easily. It's like, wow, the Rebels really had like good stuff.
Speed, like fast hitting, like hit and run tactics work really well with the Rebels, and like they were so fast, like without pausing it was hard to even target them. So they like the stormtroopers are shooting at them, but they're just like, this is whizzing around the battlefield. They're so fast. So once you're like, once again, like it's, I know I don't mean to like berate this point, but like once you remove the plot armor, like, and you see like the actual tactical advantages of each of the units, like it opens up this whole new world of possibilities and like an imagination of like how things would actually play out in the lore versus the films. So man, I'm like getting flashbacks of these stupid snow speeders just completely annihilating me.
Dude, that was my strategy. Just like bring them in, blow up the little shield around the home base, and then just go in. Yeah,
go in with those tanks.
So you finished each campaign, you said, right?
I finished the Empire one. I didn't really get very far in the Rebellion one just because I wanted to go play mods.
Was there any storyline like worth noting in that?
Not necessarily. It's just kind of take over all the planets, and then they have a Imperial March. And the Empire's like, good.
Awesome. No, I remember the first Empire level just being like, okay, you're Darth Vader. Here's some stormtroopers. Like, take over this planet. And I was like, I'm 10 years old. Like,
I don't know what to do.
But then I also started the Rebel campaign, and I never finished it because, like, one of the first things you're supposed to do is like escort R2D2 and C3PO, like, throughout the planets.
Yes, I remember this. Yes.
And like the very first mission I had, that C3PO murdered like
that's
instantly.
How it would go. So, that's how it would happen. Yeah.
So there was like no way to advance the campaign because I only had R2, and it's like you can't do the rest without C3PO. And I was like, that's brutal. I'm just gonna play skirmishes from now on. Like, forget this.
I almost want, if they were to do a new game, because Disney's been like dipping into the EU a little bit. They've been like putting their pinky toe in and like pulling some stuff out.
I mean, outside of the movies, yeah,
even in the movies, just like little bits and bits, especially Solo. Solo was like fucking
that's true.
EU central. It was amazing. I was just like sitting in the theater. I was like, oh my god. I never thought any of these things would be mentioned, like Terrace Kasi and stuff like that. I was like, holy shit.
Shout out to Solo, to be honest.
Honestly, it's like not a great movie, but as a Star Wars fan, it made me so happy.
It's fun.
More than any of the sequel trilogy or any of the sequels did. But the idea of, because like in the EU, basically, of course this was all bullshit, but the Empire was basically formed to fend off the Yuzon Vong from invading the entire galaxy. And so they're like just like this ancient, like insurmountable, like just numbers like crazy, like they will infest and destroy everything type of race. And almost like a game centered around that. It's like having like an alternate universe timeline where like they do come back and they attack. And just like where you're either can pick either side, but primarily probably recommended the Empire and like finding them off, and then maybe having some remnants of the rebellion in there. That might be a mod too. I might have to look, but I'm sure it is. But yeah, just something where the Empire is front and center, because they're not making the TIE Fighter VR remake that I want so badly for some reason. Just any kind of Empire content.
So many VR options with Star Wars. Imagine this like Empire at War in VR.
Or AR like even would be sweet.
Honestly, yeah. Like any RTS in VR or AR, and I think Star Wars 100% would fit that. Like,
oh yeah.
Just the aesthetic of the universe, you would definitely be more immersed into the game. 100%.
Where you can physically like look out and like zoom out, so more like a galactic map. Or that would be really cool if you were almost like on like a bridge of a ship. And
I
then
was gonna
you could
say,
walk up to like a map and it would like zoom out the whole galaxy, and you could pick planets and like move units that way. Why isn't this game exist?
dude, EA,
EA,
like, can we cut this deal off and then like just ostracize EA until they learn their lesson?
Lucasfilm Games is apparently a thing again. Not Lucas, not under the LucasArts name, but a internal studio or publishing. I don't know if they're doing publishing or a studio, but like I feel it in my gut that Disney is going to renew their deal with EA because they're happy with them, or it's just their bullshit and they're just trying to white it out. So I feel like in my gut they're going to renew it, and we're going to have to deal with this for another 10 years, and we're not going to have any good games. But yeah, there's just an unlimited amount of possibility, especially in this genre. Like there's so many things you could do. But yeah, oh my gosh, a VR strategy game would be so awesome.
Right?
Where you play as basically either a rebel general or a Empire admiral.
Yeah.
Gosh.
See?
It writes itself. It writes itself. All these games. I have so many ideas for games. But really like this and then like a spiritual successor to X-Wing and TIE Fighter for VR is just like why doesn't this happen? Like a really like a simulation level recreation of those games.
I'm kind of annoyed that they didn't go further with the Battlefront VR experience and like actually do that, because I mean they could have just done a little more, you know?
Yeah, it was definitely a like mainstream audience selling point. Like they were just trying to get as many people as possible. Like it's really fun. But yeah, playing it like twice, it was just like it's very lacking. Like I want to be able to pull up the targeting computer, and I want to be able to put, flip the shields on and with a specific key. I want full keyboard support with one of these games, but especially with TIE Fighter, a flight sim, yeah. With I know we're supposed to talk about Empire War, but with the the original TIE Fighter, those games, like the TIE Fighters are so brittle that you always have to rely on shields and like just managing shields and guns, and like that's way more compelling gameplay than just mashing the R2 trigger.
But, true.
So, did you dive into? Have you played any mods for this game at all?
I think I played. I'm not sure what mods I have on. I'm not like a PC guy. I don't really know the mods so super well, but I guess Steam makes it pretty easy. You just kind of click on it.
Yep, all the best ones are pretty much on there from that I can see. A lot of the ones from ModDB, the like Republic at War, the Clone Wars, the KOTOR ones, I think is on there as well.
I don't think I played any Republic at War. I'm not sure what I did play though. Yeah, I'm not too sure what mods I had on.
I can fully recommend Republic at War. It feels like a sequel. Like it takes the base game and completely sets up its own rules and like rock paper scissors types. This ship beats this ship beats this ship type of thing.
Wow, yeah.
And you get so many different characters and new units, and it's just a whole new perspective. You get it uses a lot of voice clips from the Clone Wars TV show, so it feels pretty authentic too. So
yeah, that sounds great. Like that sounds like more than a mod and kind of like a cry from fans. Like we really got to do this ourselves.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a mod. It feels like an official release. Like it feels like a sequel to Empire at War and the Forces of Corruption. So there's plenty to chew on with this game for a long time.
Do you have like anything to say about like the depth of just the base game with like the different units and everything?
There's enough depth here to keep the gameplay interesting for a number of hours, but not too much where it's daunting. Like especially because I was going in as a complete noob to strategy games. Like it was all very easy to wrap your head around, and the fact that you have either like Darth Vader or Mon Mothma or whoever like chatting in your ear, like saying like we need to set up bases here or whatever. It makes it both easy to pick up and hard to master, which is probably the best thing I could say about a strategy game. Because like you move on to something like, let's just say Dawn of War for an example, like there's a lot of the same tenets can carry over, but this presents them in a way that's a little bit less cumbersome and a little bit easier to wrap your head around. And also like if you have the context of Star Wars, you kind of know how things work a little bit, so that might help significantly too.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I was 10 years old when this came out, so I had never really played a strategy game before, like barely touched any PC games. I think the only thing I played was like World of Warcraft, besides like those cheap like kid games,
Flash games.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, like this was like my first real like PC game, and I was surprised how easily I got into it at such a young age and was able to like really play it to a sense that was like, oh, I'm actually like learning stuff. I'm actually like progressing in this game, and I am able to win like here and there. So yeah, I'd say if you're ever like, if you're intimidated by strategy games, especially RTSs, which I feel like is a little more daunting than like a turn-based game.
Yeah.
Star Wars, if you have a general knowledge of Star Wars, this is definitely a good place to jump in, because it's a lot of like logic-based thinking, and then you get into strategy before or after you kind of like understand, oh yeah, AT-AT, I know what that is. It's a big ass like walker. It goes kind of slow, so I'm gonna loop around, learn my maps, blah blah blah. But like, yeah, if you have a general knowledge of Star Wars, you're going to be able to get into this game pretty easily.
Yeah, and even if you're not familiar with the EU stuff, like it's like the Rebels have a tank. The Rebels have anti-air guns. Like it's all very easy to wrap your head around, even without that prior knowledge. And for some reason when you said AT-AT, it clicked into my mind one of the other Empire heroes, which was General Veers. Shout out to General Veers. He's basically just in an AT-AT and is really powerful. He just wrecks. But yeah, it's all very easy to wrap your head around, and the UI is pretty elegant too. Like it all is very snappy and it makes sense. Like, it's there was never a time where I was like, how do I do this thing? Like it's always very simple and user friendly. You can zoom in on planets and build different units and different structures, and then zoom out to the whole galaxy map and look where the enemy is and look where all the different supply lines and how this connects to this. It's it's pretty elegant, I'd say.
And like the maps aren't, I would say, are very like decently sized for both space and land battles. Like you're going to be spending a few hours on each game, and a lot of it's going to be like, I need to send this person from here all the way over here, and like I'm going to send more people like around the back. Like the maps are they're varied pretty well, and the fact that you can, at least in skirmish, you can like increase the player count or to however you want. Like say you want an AI team member on the Rebels, you can play that, have them like help you out, and have like however many Empire forces you want. But it really is very accessible with that. Like if that's kind of like a built-in like training wheels, you can have other AI team members with you.
See how that they set up their bases and their supply lines. So, and being able to zoom out and see like where the enemy is, and see like, oh, I should probably move a fleet of ships there to defend that planet, and I have a special garrison or whatever on this planet, so I should have a few Star Destroyers set around there, and it builds and builds and builds and snowballs into where by the end of the game you feel like this master tactician, or you feel like the other team's a master tactician, and you've kicked your teeth in, and there's not really much you can do. But there's no time where it feels daunting.
No, yeah. The more we talk about it, the more I'm like, I really have only good things to say about this game. Like,
it was a very positive.
Play it right now.
It was a really positive experience, and I'm pretty sure I have it installed. Like this is one of those games I don't ever install, because I always just want to jump in for like a skirmish match or whatever every so often, just to get that Star Wars high, because Disney fails me all the time. I just want to play it. I don't know if I'll probably just do like a dozen planet run instead of like the whole galaxy map. And that's another thing about the benefit of Star Wars as a setting, is you have so many diverse landscapes in terms of the planets. Like you got Hoth, you got Coruscant, and like this, you have the different urban areas. You got Dantooine, which is like a very lush fields. Naboo, obviously,
Tatooine,
Tatooine, can't never forget. There's always a diverse feel to each of the battlefields that you take place. Even in space, like you see like the background of the planet, Endor. Like, I want to play this game so bad.
I know, right?
Yeah. Just it captures the feeling of this series in a way that most other games try to, but they're kind of held back by either having that mass market appeal and simplicity. But this really doesn't feel like it's sacrificing anything. It feels like it's it feels like a genuine effort to create a once again, easy to learn but hard to master strategy game in the universe. And I cannot commend them enough. And I hope eventually we'll get another one. Maybe not in this Empire at War, but a Star Wars RTS with today's graphics and everything, because that would just be amazing.
I would hope so, because the developer Petroglyph, like, they're still around. They're still making strategy games, and I think they're owned by EA, or at least they're working very closely with EA on like Command and Conquer and everything. So like,
what are they doing over there?
Yeah, like I feel like we could possibly get another entry, but like that's me being very hopeful and like just looking at things like, ooh, that could work.
When this Disney EA deal runs out, I hope they take the Marvel approach where they go to specific developers that would be good at a specific type of game and just say, hey, you do our strategy game, you do our first person shooter, you do our pod racer racing game. Like, oh my gosh.
Honestly, pod racing game done awesome. Right.
In like, a VR, I'd do that in VR.
It might make you sick.
Yeah, it might make you sick, but for those who can survive, that would be a blast. And first,
just call it now. This is pod racing.
Yeah. Have you played like the physical one with the actual the controls in like an arcade at all?
Actually, yeah, I have.
It's like that was a blast. And imagine that with like move controllers with your two different
sticks. It could work so well.
So well. So just these things aren't hard. We're not the first people to imagine these ideas. There's no way.
Yeah.
So the fact that they don't exist is even more frustrating because they're so easy. Obviously, game development's not easy, but these ideas should just write themselves, and there should be numerous Star Wars games in this generation. There aren't.
Yeah, we shouldn't have only Star Wars shooters like that,
or
that's
mobile games.
Pretty much like the baseline of a Star Wars game. You should be able to build up from that.
Yep, you can do.
But I digress.
As you can see with like all the past games, you can do literally any genre with this setting. You can do anything you want. So let's branch out from multiplayer shooters, please.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with Respawn's game this year. I'm cautiously optimistic. Very, very cautiously optimistic.
Nah, trust Respawn.
I trust Respawn completely. I don't trust EA.
Fair enough.
Anything else to say on this gem that I just cannot wait to go back and play now?
All I can say is like a memory. I would like save each game and come back to it if I remembered, but it was very difficult for me to remember which games I was playing because I would name them all like Jar Jar 1, Jar Jar 2.
Nice. Love that.
So that's kind of like a pro tip, make sure you name your save files.
That's fair.
Something easy to remember.
Akbar's Glory 1.
Yeah, name it something cool, not just Jar Jar.
Yeah, or just double down. Just Jar Jar's tongue, Jar Jar's ears.
Honestly.
Jar Jar's dumbass face. Jar Jar's fucking...
Jar Jar's voice.
Jar Jar's voice, yeah. Poor guy, though, the actor. He has, like, deals with, like, depression and shit still. I'm just like, oh my god, that sucks.
Like, dude, I love Jar Jar, let's be honest. We all loved Jar Jar as a child.
I don't know if I did. I can't recall ever having much affinity for him, even then. And, like, Phantom Menace was, like, one of my first pieces of media that I remember. And
Fair enough.
Yeah, it was all about the Boss Nass.
Oh, he was cool too.
He was cool. But I digress. Where's our Jar Jar game? Our Jar Jar
Give me a
VR
Jar Jar
game.
sim.
A Jar Jar sim, just running into shit. And then at the end, it has the whole Sith twist to it, where he kneels to Emperor Palpatine. That'd be pretty. Oh man, Force Unleashed 3, starring Sith Jar Jar, I think is greatness waiting to happen. Or even the Respawn game, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I want to see at least one Gungan.
Yes, if we don't see one Gungan out of all of this, have you heard? We're totally off base at this point, but have you heard the canon fate of Jar Jar? Where
no, I don't think so.
He's basically like sent home and ridiculed for causing the Empire. He was just completely lambasted for like electing Palpatine to power, and he was just until the end of his days, just ridiculed for the rest of his life. It's pretty sad and miserable, but it makes sense.
What did they expect when they put him like in the Senate?
Yeah, it's like you don't. He's a follower. He's not a leader.
Throughout the entire Phantom Menace, like everyone's just shitting on Jar Jar, and they're like, "Oh wait, you can represent us in the government."
It's like that's a great idea. Anyway, Go play Jar Jar at War, Forces of Boss Nass on Steam. Play some mods and
Do it.
Let's get a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter for a spiritual successor to this and TIE Fighter, please. Thank you.
If you're a modder, like, and you want to like do some really cool ass mods on this game, like, go ahead, let me know. Like, DM us directly.
Yeah, I got so many ideas. Even though most of the easy ones have already been made, and I just searched, there is a Yuzong Vaughn mod. So, and the map for it looks huge. So I might actually give that a go.
Ooh, yeah.
They need to be purged from the galaxy forever. So yeah, mods. There's the modding tools are pretty comprehensive, so they can pretty much make anything they want. And if we were to see a new game, you bet your ass that would not be a thing. There would not be mod support, unfortunately.
No, it'd probably be some sort of like weird console thing, like Halo Wars. Yikes.
Which it'd be better than nothing, but yeah, just go all out with it. But anyway, total digress. Go play this gem. What are we playing for next time? Have you decided?
Let me grab my list real fast.
No worries.
Do you have anything?
I was going to once again just pick based off your thing, and I'll promise that next time I'll be more proactive.
No, yeah, I always forget, like, we pick at the end of the episode.
I just feel like it makes sense just in case people want to actually play along.
Yeah.
And thank you. Right. What was the guy's name that submitted the... Because that was amazing to see. Thank you so much.
Yeah, he submitted Enslaved Odyssey to the West.
Yes, which looks awesome, and I've only heard great things about it.
Yeah, I would love to play that again. Or, not again. I think I played, like, a demo. I can't find his name.
I'm so sorry, sir.
Anyway, for me, I'm going to be picking Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2.
Oh shit! What do I? Oh man,
2. Don't forget it. You can play 1 and 3 remastered on PS3 and 360, but not 2.
Why not 2?
So I think. Honestly, I don't know. I'm gonna do some investigation for you guys. Like, why not 2? It's probably the best one. I don't know. 3 is pretty good, but like 2 is like its own thing.
At Hail Destroyer 87 on Twitter, thank you for your submission.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I need to hear the story of this because there has to be some licensing bullshit behind this. That is.
But like, you would think it's all Dragon Ball Z. It's all made by the same people. Like, what's the big deal?
I feel like I also need to play an anime ass game now.
You got some Kojima.
Will you allow me? Will you allow me to gush about Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance?
Oh, go for it.
Oh fuck yeah! All right, done. All right, my pick: Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Yours: Dragon Ball. What is it?
Dragon Ball Z Budokai
2. All right, look out for those in a couple weeks. This has been Old Games Old Episode 3. Thank you so much for listening or watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, listen to that. Completely Consensual on whatever day he keeps changing it to.
Also, we already shouted out the guy that not DM'd us, but like tweeted at us about Enslaved. Like, feel free to tweet at us games that you would like us to talk about, and like
those underrated gems.
If we definitely have the knowledge to do it, I'll put it on the list.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm running out of stuff on my list.
That would be amazing. Just get submissions. So yeah, if you have any, tweet at us at Noah_Frescop, at RealSFTreat, at Chiptooth Gaming, and we'll see you in a couple weeks for Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance and Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2. I can't remember these names that are.
No, that was perfect.
Great.